Oh, my neck. Hi. It's me, Sailor Moon Serena here. And today I'm going to talk about, well, something that I always should talk about or need to talk about. Anyway, so I know I've probably talked about this many times, and I'll probably go on to talk about it many times, but it's nothing bad. Alright, so you have these sides when it comes to my show. You got some sides that love the Deke and Pioneer, and others that did not. Others that either liked the Toei one, or liked Viz's take on it, or didn't like any of it. And where did all this hate come from? Where did a dislike come from? Well, it had to have come somewhere, you know. So I have some guesses where I think it may have came from, but I truly don't know. So we have to go back to, I'm going to say, probably 1992 YL, but then that was when my show first came out. And keep in mind that at first my show was only in Japan. It didn't go outside of Japan until years later. And a lot of folks seem to believe that that the rest of the world got some cleaned one. Yeah, well, I'm going to get into that because all my shows were cleaned. Hell, my show wasn't the only show that got cleaned. We're going to get to that too. But the beginning of the saga and tale really doesn't get started until about 1994 YL, when Deke and Toon Makers were both in a bidding fight with Toei over who was going to get the right to the show. Now, Toon Makers made this live show / live drawing show, which was worth too much for Toei to do. Even with Siobhan's help, because Siobhan did help Toon Makers out in that. So Toei went with Deke. And this is where the hang and then about 1995 YL, this is when everyone started to know who Sailor Moon was. But you got these folks out there that somehow got a hatred for it. They looked at the names being shifted. And then they looked at stead names being shifted or strike names being shifted, and then they got irked at it. And that being irked, shifted into being mad, and then somewhere they became mad. Somehow they hated it. Somehow this led them to look up the written one, which back then in 1995 YL, very few folks had their own reckoners. The only way you could have only businesses and learn halls and sick houses and book houses had the reckoners back then, and very few folks could even afford to buy their own reckoner. So most of these folks probably went to the learn house to look it up, or the book house, whatever. And maybe there was someone who, maybe it was years later when they got the interweb, when they got their own reckoner, and then they started to look up Sailor Moon. So, but does my Deke and Pioneer actually need to have the hate that it has? I would say no. That the hate that came out of it wasn't even needed. You know? Yes, there were things about it that weren't flawless. You know, yes, there were things that were flaws in it. But at the end of the day, I don't really think there was any hate over any of that. But somehow these folks, there was hate. I don't know why. Somehow, some way, there was just hate for it. And where did it come from? I do not know. So, to be a little more earnest with you, I don't know where the hate came from. And then it was hating on the show players who leaves this who speak for us. Then it was hating on strike names being shifted, stead names being shifted, and then a lot of cleaning going on. And they would say, "Oh well, you know." And as far as that goes, there were many shows that had gotten clean being done to it. Speed Racer had gotten cleaned. I know a lot of you folks don't believe it, but it did. Voltron had gotten cleaned it up too. So it wasn't like my show was the first show to ever get this work. So they ended up hating the Deke one. And then about then, when Deke finally was done with it, in 1999 YL, another fight started between I don't know who and Pioneer. Some say Cloverway, but this is just whatever. And Pioneer got the rights to do the third and fourth followings, and they made it more close to the Toei one, since that's the way Toei made it. So they thought that they made it closer to the Toei one. But at the end of the day, folks hated that too. They bitched about the same things. Oh, names are being shifted again, stead names are being shifted again, and strike names are being shifted again. It's true. You could not win with them. And then also, and you know, but at the end of the day, I don't really think the hate was needed. You know? And then, oh, well, then Viz eventually got the right to start working on everything again, and everyone started saying that this is the one we should have gotten. Well, they don't even say that. They hate that too. You know? But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I don't know where the hate came from. I mean, I don't know why some folks out there hate it. No, I do not know. At the end of the day, I don't know why it got so much hate, but sadly, it did. Sadly, my Deke one, and my Pioneer one, and well, got hated on too. It's like you could never make them happy. They were going to shift the goals on you anyway. And I could go on a whole hour, but at the end of the day, I cannot, since other folks need to make their films too. And I could go and live stream this too if I wanted to, and I still wouldn't come down to the grounds to why it got hate. You know? It is what it is. So, I'm Sailor Moon Serena, and I hope you like this film.